Hey, what's up, you awesome dudes? Welcome back to Anthem. Today we're going to take a deep dive into the Tyrant mine, and this is basically a video guide on how to do this dungeon on the Grandmaster difficulty. Of course, I've been talking about this place for a while now, but I figured out I wanted to make a guide on it and help you guys out, especially since I'm bumping into people who keep doing the same mistakes over and over again. So we're going to go first and foremost before going on Grandmaster and all of that, especially if you don't have enough item level. One of the things that you can do before doing so is to go into your consumables tab and craft some stuff appropriate to your loadout. In my case, for example, I'm going to go with some blast damage as well as with some heavy pistol damage, and that is pretty much it. And here's one of the first things that I always like doing. Since I have the freeze effect, I can simply go on that tower and pretty much freeze it. That is probably one of the biggest enemies you will want to prioritize in this section. So in this case, since I'm seeing my party members already going onto the enemies, I'm pretty confident I can take this turret solo, so I'm just heading over there, freezing it in the process and aiming for those weak spots, and I have the damage to do it, and all of a sudden, bam, it's down and it's super easy. From here on, I also concentrate on those snipers and on those shielded enemies. These are the most dangerous right here, so I want to take them as fast as possible, especially the legendary ones, which is why I'm exclusively focusing on them. But otherwise, the party is absolutely insane, it's really good, and from here on is really easy to just pick off all of the enemies, freeze the available ones and be done with it. The party damage is already good enough and we cleared this area in no time. Now of course you're going to have a second wave spawning with these enemies, so what I'm trying to do here is to simply take off their shields just so I can freeze them at the same time, or you can take each target one by one, but it depends on the scenario, so I'm just bringing that one up. But once the second wave is also done and we get to clear up the area, all remains is to get the echoes, put them in, and here is where I like changing things up a bit. I normally don't go on the front side, I like going through the back, flanking a little bit so I take the enemy by surprise. You're going to see that in just a second. From this area over here, many times you will have some enemies spawning, case in which I as a storm can easily clear them up, so my party moves on from the other side and takes all the echoes as well as the enemies. But even if they don't spawn, I have this turret over here, super exposed, nothing protecting it, which means I can take it all by myself. But if your party doesn't have enough damage, if for example you're too low on power level, then maybe you will want to go with your party as a group, stay together and go from one target to another, so you don't risk dying or anything, because that would pretty much put you in danger, and even in danger of pretty much wiping. But from here on, it's again super simple, and at some point I'm confident enough to even pop my ultimate, because I just want to see those numbers popping up, those combo detonations, and I'm not going to be using my ultimate for quite some time from this point, which is why I'm more than happy to completely use it. But it's not like these targets are that powerful anyway. I mean, weak point damage is simply destroying these elites, and the flamethrowing guys are, you know, just nothing. And again, check these acid debuffs, which are giving me all of this bonus damage, as well as the mark of death, which makes these targets die in an instant. So that is pretty much it. We're done with the echoes. I'm going to leave my party members to deliver the rest of them, but I'm going to take like 3 of them, and after I deliver them is when we get back to the second area. And here is another thing that I really like doing, so that it helps me not wipe out or anything. These turrets are overexposed, there's nothing protecting them, so I can just freeze both of them at the same time and then just go on the first one over here, which is the closest one, take it down really fast, aim those weak points, and even if the second turret tries to attack me, then I simply freeze it again, so it's not really a big deal for me. And by the time I even reach it, my other party member just goes ham in on its ass. Now the next phase I like to go on to is this solo sniper over here. He is very potent if he's left unchecked, so I always go on him, take down his shields, and if I get any problems from these two turrets, I simply freeze them again and then get on the sniper, and that is pretty much it. Now of course my teammates are starting to move in, but I have a little bit of trouble because I have pretty much pulled all of the aggro off of them, so I'm using all of the line of sight that I can, also dodging all of those sniper bullets at the same time, so I have to be careful with all of that, and in the meantime go on some of the other enemies that exist in this area. Like for example, there's a couple more here. I have no trouble taking these on, and again I'm just using the line of sight, my dodges, my shields and my frost effects to crowd control the entire battlefield. And from here on, it's super easy. My teammates seem to know what they're doing for the most part, but one of them does manage to get down and revived at some point. This region over here normally has a couple of snipers, which I also like going onto, but it seems that with 2 interceptors, you don't really need to like pay attention to that. They will pretty much be going 24/7 on all of the snipers on their own, so that is a good thing. But lastly, after clearing everything up and putting in 8 of the echoes, is when one of the leaders that holds the keys to the rest of the 4 echoes spawns. And of course, what I'm doing here is simply go in balls deep with all of the ultimates. So I'm doing the ultimate, probably 2 of the interceptors are also doing it because this guy is melting right now. Not sure if it's just from me, but from the looks of it, all of the interceptors are just destroying everything in sight. So obviously with the remaining enemies, I'm just crowd controlling them, taking down their shields and just blasting them to like keep them from shooting towards my allies. And finally, when I finish killing off all of the other snipers, it's just the rest of the trash mobs which are really susceptible to like elemental damage, to freeze effects. So from here on, I really have no worry in the world, and we complete this area in no time and get that sweet loot at the end of it. Now, one of the tips that I have for you guys is to not open this chest until all of your party members are alive and close to it. There are some slight bugs currently in the game, not sure when they will get fixed, but if some of the party members are downed while this chest gets opened, they might lose on all of that loot. So try to have all of the party members alive when you open it, as well as close to it. From here on, simply move on, and the way I like to do it is through this side. The reason is because there's this waterfall over there, so even if I overheat, I just go through it and I can continuously fly without any interruption. Then there's these tunnels with NPCs that I completely skip. I don't even stay on these ones. I just go onto the next objective marker, which is of course the next second big area with all of those huge enemies that keep spawning in like huge waves. So super easy here. It's pretty much the exact same principle. Now there's 2 things you can keep in mind. You can also go solo if you're confident you won't die, but otherwise if you're not confident enough in your survivability, then simply go with another party member, as most of these caves hold 2 relics that you need to pick off. Put them in, you can pretty much go through all of these fragments, deliver all 6 of them, and not fight a single enemy unless you really want to. But do keep in mind that if you don't clear out the area and you're on the low item level side, you might die in one shot because there's going to be a huge barrage of bullets. So at some point, the second wave of scars, which is by far the biggest one, pretty much gets skipped because we end up delivering all of the fragments, and from here on, it's just one thing that you have to do, and that is the endless number of insects that keep spawning and charging on you. So what I suggest you guys doing here is to stay at all times on this platform so that signal fills up as fast as possible. In my case, these 2 interceptors kept going off the platform, so the signal wasn't at its peak, which meant that we had to spend a little bit too much time here. Also, there's going to be some stuff spawning like these electrical orbs, and if they are near you, they will zap you, they will deal damage to you, but also they will overheat you and knock you off from the air. So be careful with that. Also be careful to take them down, because if your shield gets depleted, they will deal quite a lot of damage to your health and possibly even down you. At some point, you will even see one of the interceptors not being careful and actually having that happening to him. Once you are done, just like previously, open up the chest and then move on to the next area, which is of course the only one left, and that is of the boss room. On the way, I completely skipped all of the enemies in sight. There's no reason for you to fight them. They do have a very low chance to drop some items, but as I've said, they are very low chance. And from here on, all is left is the end boss, the Tyrant itself. So one thing that I like doing as soon as he spawns and I see his health bar appearing is to use my ultimate. It provides a good enough of damage, but even more so, I'm going to be able to replenish it very fast in its second phase. After that, I'm staying on those weak spots 24/7 because I know I can interrupt many of its phases. If you do this properly, you can pretty much skip all of its phases and kill it in its first phase by having enough damage. Now, since I was running with a party that did a lot of mistakes, of course one of the interceptor gets downed, we don't have enough damage to interrupt its second phase, so obviously the boss ends up going on the wall and back in its lair. So from here on, then what I do is simply farm these NPCs up to the point that I fill up my ultimate bar. From that point on, I don't do any combo damage, so I can be 100% sure that the rest of my teammates have enough time to fill their ultimate bars. As soon as he jumps in, his sides are again getting popped, popping my ultimate again on his face, dealing quite significant amount of damage, and at this point I was confident we would take it in this round, but unfortunately we just couldn't aim those weak spots and interrupted by the time he walks on the wall. So there's another phase that we're doing, repeating the same process, and once he's back, just a couple more shots and he's dead on his feet. Now of course, if I ran with a dedicated party I could have done this in half the time, but still a decent enough run for the amount of loot that I was getting. So yeah, this is mostly for the people out there who haven't already done it on the Grandmaster difficulty, or for the people who have yet to reach the max level. Now if you enjoyed this video, obviously a thumbs up would be super appreciated. Also don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys later.